we are very pleased to announce that we have finally pitched a script and have a complete pitch for our new Miles Morales fan film. Let's get into it, shall we? But before we can get into that, I want to talk about why we're making this. Well, I've been seeing this odd discourse about why Miles Morales isn't Spider-Man and why he's just the sidekick and, this and that. But I want to talk about why I feel like that's not true, which is why this film is basically going to be a standalone Miles Morales film, for the most part. I want to make it abundantly clear that Miles Morales' whole point wasn't to be an extension of Peter Parker, but rather just another version of him. He's not just the sidekick or an extension. No, he's just another version of Peter. And I hate it when I see people talking about how he can't be Spider-Man because his race is different, or he's not the same as Peter, or this and that. It's just not true. And even this quote from Stan Lee really just tells you everything.
I haven't read any Superman stories in years. But I'll tell you one thing you may not have thought of. You know one of the greatest things about Spider-Man's outfit, his costume?
What?
He is completely covered. So any kid could imagine he's Spider-Man because no color of the skin shows. He could be black under that. He could be red. He could be yellow. He could belong to any race. And
that right there is why I believe Miles Morales as a character really deserves better. I know that recently he's got a little more respect after the Spider-Verse films, but I feel like he just needs a little bit better. Because there's still a small group of people who still think that Miles Morales isn't a good superhero. And that's really my problem with a lot of Spider-Man iterations. People just can't take into account that most of the time there's going to be different iterations. It's not going to be the exact same person that you know and love under the mask. And people just need to accept that. But moving on, the reason why I truly want to make this movie is because I just love Miles Morales, and I just really love him. He's a really nice character, and I'd love to do a story about him because he's such an interesting character, right? He has to take on the mantle of Spider-Man, and it's hard because he's really just a normal person just like me and you. So it's just really cool doing a story like that, especially with great power comes great responsibility in a new way, because now you need to take on the responsibility from somebody else, and you need to use the great power with great responsibility. And it's just cool seeing that happen to such a normal person like that. And that's why I just love Miles Morales as a character, because he's just a normal person, maybe even normaler than Peter Parker, but he gets turned into a hero, even though he didn't even ask to be. Which is the same thing with Peter Parker, but I feel like Miles Morales more so is even more of a normal kid. While sure, he's pretty smart, he's not like a science whiz like Peter was. And he mostly, in the comics, from what I can see, has plenty of friends. He's basically just a normal kid in high school for the most part, before he became Spider-Man. And that's why I love him. So that's one of the reasons I just really want to do this movie. But without further ado, let's get into the pitch. Alright, let's do this. Let's get into the plot in a pretty fast time. So, we've corrected a plot for this film, and while there are going to be some changes while the script finally releases, there's going to be a couple changes, maybe even, villain changes, who knows, but this is just the plot that we have currently. So Miles Morales is having summertime, and he just wants to take a break from this whole responsibility thing. He wants to take a break from being Spider-Man for a little bit to take more time with his friends. And that's until Peter Parker tells Miles about this new event. And Peter asked Miles to take on the mantle of Spider-Man for a little bit, since we'll figure out some excuse for Peter Parker to do that. But for now, just go with it. So now that Miles has to be Spider-Man, he has to figure out a balance. How can he be Spider-Man but still make sure nobody figures it out? And throughout the movie, we'll see how Miles kind of gets a little bit of anxiety from dealing with all of this, and stuff like that. By the way, music will play a pretty big part in this film, just so you know. Sort of, whatever you think. Depends when the movie comes out. Anyhow, Peter finds out about this whole new event that happened at Oscorp, where somebody stole these 2 electricity gauntlets, and that is none other than the Shocker. The Shocker will be a minor villain. He's not like the main villain. He's just a minor villain that Miles fights. After Peter defeats Shocker, Miles asks Shocker about this thing that he's been, or something. I don't know. Shocker's basically mentioned this whole project. Miles asks what the project is, and Shocker reveals that it's the Electro project. Miles is super confused about this, and he looks for more answers. He ends up breaking into Oscorp's deepest, darkest secrets, or whatever. We'll figure something out. And he finds a bunch of papers about, apparently, event that happened at Oscorp about Electro. When Peter finds out about this, it's too late because Peter gets into a huge fight with Electro when Electro breaks out of his cell. After this, there would have been a lot of mayhem with Miles trying to defeat Shocker, and I feel like this is a nice villain to tackle since Miles also has electricity powers. And I feel like it'd be cool to see him take on a character who basically has similar powers to him, which I think is pretty cool to tackle since now Electro can overpower Miles, which could basically kill him. So Miles needs to figure out interesting and new ways to figure out how to defeat Electro, because think about it. He also has electric powers, and he can essentially disintegrate Miles to the ground. So Miles needs to figure out creative ways to defeat Electro. Throughout the movie, there'd be a couple scenes with Spider-Man, or Peter, whatever you want to call him, and there'd be a couple cameo scenes. But then there's this huge battle that breaks out with Miles defeating Electro, and the movie ends with Peter learning that one of his friends during the battle actually got pretty injured. He meets up with his friend, and he realizes that he can't keep letting the people he loved get in danger. And yeah, we'll figure out some way to get around his parents, since I need to figure out actors for that. And I don't really have actors for Miles' parents currently, but I'll figure something out. They'd probably be put into the mix somehow. I just need to figure out if they're available. Maybe they'll be put on phone calls or whatever, but for now, it's going to be very hard to get the parents. A lot of characters, actually. Other than that, for what we have currently, that is the plot. So that is the plot for our brand new Miles Morales film, or the pitch. Now, there are going to be a lot of updates in the future. We are also making a very interesting thing coming out this summer, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I'm really happy that you guys watched this video. Thank you so much. If you liked it, maybe click the subscribe button and smash that like button. And if you dislike the video, just leave, because YouTube deleted the dislike button for some reason. Anyhow, you can also leave a comment if you have any questions, because I will probably answer them in the community post section. I'll answer all of your questions, and yeah. Also, the goal for this film is also to get the YouTuber Boy Carson to team up with us to make a cameo in this film. If we can do that, that would be amazing. But we'll have to see in the future. Anyhow, thank you very much for watching this video. It's been really nice. And what can I say? Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for something that's coming out very soon. Just stay tuned for it. It's going to be a pretty huge announcement. We'll call it Spider Summer. Stay tuned for Spider Summer. Anyways, with that out of the way, thank you for watching and goodbye.